So today we will have a very nice presentation. We have two colleagues with us, so Antonio Pedrero and Mrs. María Ángeles Navacerrada. They will be sharing one of the main aspects we are having inside this Discover Line Stars, things about acoustics. So please, I would like to thank you, Antonio, and I would like to thank you, María Ángeles, because of being here, accepting this lunch talks. It's a pleasure to have you in here. And without more hesitation, I will give the floor to María Ángeles, but I would like to provide only with one more news, is that remember that next week we are not having the lunch talk. It's Easter holidays here in Spain. So we will keep the next meeting for the 21st of April. So apart from that, I wish you all a nice Easter holidays. And now let's go on. Thank you very much. And María Ángeles, the floor is completely yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Álvaro. Welcome to everybody. Good morning and welcome to this lunch talk today related to environmental acoustic and the problem of noise in our cities and how to approach it from a technical point of view. First, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is María Ángeles Navacerrada. I am a professor at the Department of Structural Physics of the School of Architecture of the Universidad Politécnica de Madrid. I am a member of the EELISA Discovery Community, and together with other professors of this university, I am a member of the Laboratory of Acoustic and Vibration with different lines of action and research, such as architectural acoustic, environmental acoustic, and development characterization of acoustic absorbing materials. The other speakers, Antonio Pedrero, is also a member of the EELISA Discovery Community, and he is the technical director of the Acoustic and Vibration Laboratory. Antonio holds a PhD in acoustic engineering, and he is a professor of the School of Telecommunication Engineering of the Universidad Politécnica de Madrid. He holds also a degree in history and music, and he is also the president of the Spanish Society of Acoustics. He's a researcher with extensive experience in acoustic methodology, environmental acoustics, and building acoustics. And in recent years, he has specialized in virtual acoustic reality technologies, and in particular, in their application to the virtual restoration of the sound heritage of the historic building. Also, he has published of the accuracy and uncertainty of different measurement methods in acoustic. In the field of environmental and building acoustic, his publication focused on acoustic studies based on in situ and laboratory measurement. He collaborates with the Entidad Nacional de Acreditación as a technical expert and auditor of acoustic testing laboratories. The presentation from today is entitled Better Sounding Cities, and address the use of noise and noise pollution in our cities and how to approach the problem from the point of view of the soundscape. Not only silent cities are needed, but cities with more pleasant sounds that allow to change the subjective perception of people. To put an end to noise in cities is impossible, but we can make them acoustically more pleasant place where noise don't know much other sounds. So after this presentation, I give the turn to Antonio, then whatever you want, Antonio. Antonio, you are in silence.
Okay. Thank you, María Ángeles, for this warm presentation. I hope you are seeing my presentation in complete screen. Okay.
It's perfect, Antonio.
Just shall we start now? In this brief talk called Better Sounding Cities, I would like to introduce you in a topic that will be one of, I said a topic that will be one of the fields of work of the discovery community, and in which we would like to have your collaboration if you want it. It is about achieving cities whose sound helps to increase the well-being of its inhabitants. For the next few minutes, we'll talk about what the sound is, what will see the difference, what will be the difference between sound and noise. We will analyze how the sound of cities is currently, and we will reflect on how it should be. And finally, we will present some new approaches to address environmental noise. Let's start by talking about what sound is. We can define sound as the auditory sensation evoked by the oscillation in pressure propagated in an elastic medium. Sound propagates in the form of a wave at a speed that is determined by the characteristics of the medium and by environmental conditions. For air, which is the most common medium, the speed of sound is around 340 meters per second. The pressure oscillations are captured by our auditory system and converted into acoustic sensation in the brain. The acoustic pressure vibrations are superimposed on the surrounding static air pressure, which has a value of about 10⁵ pascals. Compared with the static air pressure, the audible sound pressure variations are very small, ranging from about 20 micropascals to 100 pascals. But as you probably know, we don't usually describe sound pressure in its natural units, I mean in pascals, but we prefer use logarithmic units. Why? Because the direct application of linear scales in pascals to the measurement of sound pressure will therefore lead to use enormous and difficult to manage numbers. Additionally, the ear responds not linearly but logarithmically to stimulus. For these reasons, it's more practical to express acoustic parameters as a logarithmic ratio of the measured value to a reference value, a logarithmic ratio called decibel or just dBs. When we express the sound pressure in dBs, we call it sound pressure level. Sound is such a common part of everyday life. It provides enjoyable experience, such as listening to music or listening to singing of birds. It enables spoken communication with family and friends. It can alert or warm us, for example, with the ringing of the telephone or a wailing siren. On the contrary, many sounds are unpleasant or unwanted. They are called noise. However, the level of annoyance depends not only on the quality of the sound, but also our attitude towards it. The same sound can be pleasant for some people, and for others, it can be an unbearable noise. We are now going to analyze what the sounds is like in our cities. Excuse me. In recent centuries, machinery has been developed that has increased industrial production and that makes people's life easier. New means of transport have also been created that allow us to move goods quickly to distant places. All this has led to an unprecedented development of our society, but has also had a high environmental cost. This cost is called environmental pollution, of which environmental noise is a part. Environmental noise, also known as noise pollution, is among the most frequent sources of complaints regarding environmental issues in Europe, especially in densely populated urban areas. As we can see in the graph, the main source of the environmental noise, both inside and outside urban areas, is road traffic. These data are extracted from a report on environmental noise in Europe that was published in Europe in 2020. But noise pollution is not simply a matter of comfort for people living in cities. Environmental noise is a serious public health problem. According to the World Health Organization, we can define health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease of infirmity. We are going to briefly comment on the main effects of environmental noise on people. The first and most widespread effect is annoyance. Annoyance is a subjective quality. It is evaluated through surveys, and it's not a pathology in itself, but it can lead feelings that can result in mental diseases later. Other effect is sleep disturbance. This effect is one of the most common in the population due to exposure to environmental noise, and have a great impact on people's health and quality of life. Noise causes interruption in people's sleep, unconscious in most cases, but very important because it has consequences such as fatigue, reduced cognitive ability, mood changes, and in the worst cases, depression or insomnia. On the other hand, high level of environmental noise produce on people alteration, physical alteration, physiological alteration, such as increased blood pressure or vasoconstriction, whose consequences are hypertension and cardiovascular diseases, which are very important, very dangerous consequences. Finally, one of the harmful effects of environmental noise is that it has been shown that produce cognitive impairment in children. This impairment results in language comprehension problems, reduced reading ability, attention problems, memory problems, and difficulties in problem solving. So, how much noise is too much noise? In other words, what are the maximum levels of environmental noise that should not be exceeded so that there are adverse effects on people's health? The graphs shows the recommendation of the World Health Organization depending on the predominant noise source. As you can see, different recommendations are given for the average of day and for the night period. Obviously, the limits for the night period are stricter. In this graph, you can see the noise levels in the capital cities of the European Union. If we compare the current noise levels in cities with the recommendation of the World Health Organization, we conclude that a large part of the population is subjected to noise level higher to those recommended. For this reason, the impact of environmental noise on the health of people in Europe is quite high. In the graph, you can see the burden of disease associated with environmental noise in Europe in 2020, according to the data of the European Environmental Agency. And here you can see that 1 of 5 people in European unit live in areas where noise levels are considered too harmful to the health. 22 million people have high annoyance by noise. 6.5 million people have sleep disturbance. About 48,000 people have heart disease produced by noise. There is a premature mortality of about 12,000 people, and 12,500 children have cognitive impairment because of the noise. So these are a very, very big problem that we have to try to solve in the next future. So, for this reason, we have a first global change and very important challenges, which is to reduce noise pollution in our cities. These are some of the most common actions to achieve it. For example, managing in a better way the traffic flows, because the traffic is the most important source of noise, replacing older paved roads with smoother asphalts, reducing speed limits, installing noise barriers, and also changing people's behavior in using less noisiest modes of transport. But sound quality cannot be judged only by its physical properties. The definition of noise as unwanted sound implies a physiological concept, while it's necessary to reduce noise level when they are physically harmful to people. It may be not a sufficient broad evaluation. It is becoming more relevant to consider soundscape that contribute to people's physical as well as physiological well-being, especially in the urban environment. Among the new disciplines that have been used to study and manage environmental noise, two stand out: the soundscape and the acoustic ecology. A soundscape is the acoustic environment as perceived by humans in context. Acoustic ecology is the study of the acoustic relationship between living organisms, human and other, and their environment. In accordance with these new trends, our objective is not only to reduce noise in city, but rather we set ourselves a second global challenge to achieve better sounding cities, and we can achieve it through masking unwanted noise by aiding positive sound, providing quiet places in cities, It's very important también to preserve and recover soundscapes that represent the cultural identity and history of the city. And finally, creating sound environments that favor the well-being of people and animal life in our cities. And this is all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Antonio. Very interesting presentation about a general introduction to acoustic and the problem of the noise in our cities. A very interesting information about the level as how this level are studied in more European cities. Now we have some time for questions. The students have time to translate to Antonio the question they want. Some student want to make some question to our speaker today. Today there are no too much.
No question.
But for this reason, if there are not too many, be quiet and try to ask to Antonio, because we are few and you are the possibility to ask to the speaker. No question? Well, Antonio, you have described usual option and option which we are used to live in. No, we can see in our cities, no, the barrier, the low velocity in the traffic, and you propose other possibilities, other options. But how we can apply, or how technology can help us to design cities with better acoustic performance?
Well, the new technology can play a very important role to help us to get more pleasant sound for cities. For example, the advances in Internet of Things, which lead to a not group of technology that is called clever cities, intelligent cities, can help you to understand the relationship between the functionment of the city and the noise produced. But overall, I think the most promising technical improvement that will help us in the future to make better sounding cities is virtual acoustics. Virtual acoustics is a field in which we work in our laboratory. It's a technology that let us to know the sound, to hear the sound of spaces in a project phase. I mean, we don't need to have a final distribution of the city in order to listen to how the city sounds. With this technology, we can prepare scenarios and virtually listen how this scenario will sound. So we can make a lot of proof, a lot of tests in order to help the sound designer, the urban designer, to make the cities more silent and more pleasant about noise. I think is the most promising technology, and we have very high expectations and use it in the future.
It's very interesting because in this way you can test, you can prove before the change or the different scenarios. That's a very interesting option. Now, some students would like to ask some questions to our speaker. Then, okay, thank you so much, Antonio. I think we are going to close here the lunch stall today. Thank you so much, and good holiday, nice holidays to everybody. Bye.
Thank you very much for listening, and I hope we'll meet you in the future in this discovery community.